Happy Tuesday, everybody! We are inside the pigskin. We have a lot of football, and I have a lot of topics, and I have a lot of crew, and a very good one. I call it the filet crew because we have a lot of meat on the bone with this cotton picking show. Oh my! All right, well, let alone we have Tom Shanahan. Welcome back, Tommy.
How's it going?
Not too bad. Candy Epling's in the house.
Hello, everybody.
We got Ben in that hat troop.
I mean, it's always good to be on with the crew.
Oh, good to have you on. All right, we have Marvin Powell, my man, pounding the rock. Got a couple of guys pounding the rock tonight.
Beat the Bruins.
That's it. And we have Mel Farr, also he's pounding the rock. All right.
Yeah.
PSC.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, we'll get to some of that a little bit later in the show. All right, well, let's talk about what took place down in Big D and talk about. I no wonder Steven didn't want to come on the show because of this topic. Now it all comes back to me here. Well, the Philadelphia Eagles, for a period of 2 games, only allowed 16 points. They ended up beating the Packers 10-7 and the Lions 16-9. But what happened to the Cowboys on Sunday? They lost to the Eagles. They lost 24-21, 21-0 lead, and all of a sudden it got ugly. So, Ben, what are your thoughts about what took place against Stevens Eagles? It was ugly, especially in that half.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, going into this week, I saw this classroom of kids. I don't know if it was a boxing class. They punching on a bunch of Eagles players, faces on punches bags, and I said, okay, this is either going to be really, really good for the Eagles to get really, really bad. 21-0. I was like, well, same old Eagles, same old Cowboys. Then the second half started, and then it got away from the Eagles. I mean, I know Steven is somewhere, super duper pissed because the thing about the Eagles is this. The Eagles are still one of the best teams, if not the best team in the NFC, even though I think the Rams will have something to say about that. But if you are the Cowboys, you needed this win more than the Eagles did, and you got the win, and you got something else. You got momentum. CeeDee Lamb might have 7 drop passes the last 2 games, but George Pickens is playing out of his mind right now. And if you ever wanted to know what football is really like, I want you to watch the Gunner running down and making the big hit on special teams. Gunner, they need to do a Netflix special on Gunners in the NFL. It ain't for the weak-hearted. It ain't for the faint of heart. I'm not rooting for either team, but there is this guy. I don't know who he is, but every time the Cowboys win, I think he's like a pastor or something. He got this song. It gets him. I'm not going to sing it, but he was singing it on Sunday. And somewhere right now, Michael Irvin is going crazy. He's going crazy over the. You know how Michael Irvin does. So shout out to the Cowboys. But if you are the Eagles, man, 20. If you was nervous going into this game, that's one thing. But 21. You gave 21 unanswered points, you lose. That's got to be nerve-wracking because Saquon Barkley has not looked like himself. A.J. Brown got the ball. The defense kind of came up short a little bit. But, hey, man, it was all Cowboys, no Eagles. Skip Bayless, I don't know if he's an Eagle fan these days or a Cowboys fan, but the Cowboys, for one night, the Cowboys had their way with the Eagles, man. And, hey, I can't stand it. If you are a Cowboy fan, may God bless you. But I'm not a Cowboys fan. But I'm gonna have to deal with them until at least till Thursday when they got Kansas City coming to town.
There you go, Marvin.
Yeah, it was a tough game for them Eagles, man. It's any given Sunday, tale of 2 halves. I mean, those are very real things. The game is not played on paper; it's played, through the hearts of men. And to be up on a division rival, division opponent by 21. Come back and lose. Dak Prescott looked amazing. I mean, you thought he was the second coming of I don't know what. He out there running the ball tough, throwing the ball, making tight plays to Pickens. Pickens out there looking like the best thing since Michael Irvin. They were rolling, man. The Cowboys got rolling later in that game. Listen, in this league, it's tough to win. It's very easy to lose. It's tough to hold on to lead sometimes. And the Cowboys are desperate. To a degree, you look at their record, look at their position, in the wild card race. They're a wounded animal. You know what I'm saying? They needed that. They needed that. So miracles happen. Miracles definitely happen. Dallas is at least from this last game, they rolling. Dak playing like he's trying to get in this MVP conversation, and the Eagles got to figure something out. Get it back to Saquon. Get back to that running game. Get that to that power run. I know up front that they've had a significant injury, but at the end of the day, if them Eagles can't get that ball rolling on the ground, it's going to be tough for them, even with that defense.
Hey, Daniel, thanks for being in here tonight. Much appreciated. Go ahead, Mel.
Yeah, as you can see, one team was desperate. One team played desperate. The other team looked like they were resting on the laurels. Philadelphia, you have to remember, they haven't looked very good all year offensively, and they have a different play caller. And when you have a different offensive coordinator, you can see they've never gotten to a rhythm offensively. Saquon Barkley has not been able to run the football. Nothing has really changed this year as far as their personnel is concerned. They don't have the same play caller, and you can see this guy, whoever is calling the plays, really doesn't have a feel for his players. Now, when you looked at the first quarter, you're like, okay, all right, they got this thing going. And then all of a sudden they just stopped. They stopped being aggressive. They weren't able to run the football. I think Saquon Barkley had 12 yards or 22 yards or something like that. It was something embarrassing. And, Dallas played with great desperation because, Philadelphia really had a chance to really end their season for them as far as playoff contention is concerned. And, they didn't go out there and do it. It looked like their team that looks like, felt that Dallas was probably just going to lay down. And they didn't realize they had an opponent that was playing extremely desperate, and they want to get to the playoffs. You can see it. They have a hunger, and they played that way. Dak's playing outstanding. Why Pittsburgh let Pickens go, I'll never know, but he's playing outstanding. CeeDee Lamb, he had some drops, but they didn't really have to worry. It didn't hurt them so much because Philadelphia couldn't capitalize on the offensive side of the ball. They're not playing complementary football, putting way too much pressure on the defense.
Candy?
I was talking about this earlier on the Chicks show that I think there's more. We've talked about there's more parity in the league, but I also think that there are teams that look past teams, or that they bring their A game, like the Philadelphia versus the Detroit game. That was a defensive battle. Like that, they both brought their A games, that defensive battle. But then when you play another team that maybe isn't doing as well, that I think that not that they play down, but they're not as hyped up. They don't look as in the game. And we've seen that numerous games. Like I would say, some of the Packer games, let's face it, who would have thought Carolina would have the record that they're having this year with the teams that they've played?
Okay, we're waiting for Tommy to get back on. So with that said, hopefully he will. We'll continue on nevertheless, okay? All right. Do we have you, Tommy?
I think he's trying to get it.
Having some technical problems. That's all right. We'll go ahead and bring him back, and we'll let him comment on that. So with that said, let's talk about the fact that Louisville is working on a contract extension for Jeff Brohm. Obviously, Jeff Brohm right now is being linked to the Penn State and Florida job openings. What are your thoughts, Ben, about Jeff Brohm?
I guess the best negotiating tactic and the best negotiation you have these days is being linked to another school. That's the quickest way to get a contract extension. And one, it shows that they really, really want you at Louisville, but two, they want to make sure that another team don't snatch you. College, having a consistent college football head coaches these days has become a rarity when you look at how many coaching jobs are up for grabs right now. But yeah, the easiest way to get a new contract is for your name to come up. Now, do I think that's tactics when it comes to their agents? Yep. Do I think them agents be saying, hey, they can put some of this stuff out to make sure to help you get more money? I'm not mad at the tactics. I'm not mad at negotiating practices, but he's going to get a new deal. He's going to be around Louisville for a couple more years. But yeah, when your name's coming up at these big time, or used to be big time, more big name SEC schools, that's definitely going to put more M's in your pocket.
All right, we'll go back to Tommy. Tommy, first of all, you can comment on the Philadelphia Eagles situation, the fact that they had a 21-0 lead, ended up losing 24-21, and then we'll let you carry over to this other topic about Jeff Brom. Let me just say this before we put Tommy on with this topic. I knew in my mind, I think Jeff Brom's the right person to be at Louisville. Obviously, I had a good experience with him earlier this year, and I think Louisville wants to make sure that he's paid in accordance with what the rest of the coaches are about. So this deal is going to get done. Jeff Brom is in the right place. I don't see him going anywhere, even though he's been linked to the Flora and the Penn State jobs. All right, Tommy, with that said, we'll let you start off with the Cowboys and Eagles, and you can continue the narrative here.
The NFL is a long season. If a team starts fast, they're eventually going to have a lull like the Eagles did. And then it's a question of whether they're going to rebound or they're going to fade. And there's so many things going on in a long season like that. Injuries, player fatigue, coaching, like Mel was talking about, the play calling. So there's just so many factors involved in such a long season. I wasn't really worried about the Eagles until this game. Giving up a 21-0 lead, that is really bad. And so there are a lot of questions about their offense. But let's also give Brian Schottenheimer some credit for keeping the Cowboys together.
Yeah.
He could have easily fallen apart. Schottenheimer has to overcome 32 NFL teams? He's got to overcome 31 other teams, plus Jerry Jones. That's not an easy job. I'm impressed. Marty Schottenheimer never got the credit he deserved as a coach because he didn't get to a Super Bowl. But I'm impressed with the job Brian Schottenheimer is doing.
Okay, now on to the other topic about Louisville working on a contract extension.
Well, Louisville's lucky to have a coach like Jeff Brom. I don't know if Louisville can ever win a national title. With 12 teams, they can get into the college football playoff. But they're going to be consistently good. They may not be an 11-win, 12-win team, but they're going to be consistently good, and you're not going to be frustrated with bad football. So if they could sign him, that's great move by their part, and they're lucky that they even have an opportunity to keep him.
Mel?
I think it's more of a sign of respect. I mean, I think that is a destination job for Jeff Brom. That's where he went to college. That's his alma mater. I think that's just a sign of respect. Yeah, his name is being mentioned as a potential successor at some of these other schools. There's never been a time like this in college football where we've had some of the brands that have coaching availabilities right now, and they have to try to show him some respect and take care of their own. Otherwise, he might start looking elsewhere. So what they're doing is trying to keep him from looking elsewhere. They know this is where he wants to be, and to keep him looking from elsewhere, they have to engage in these types of negotiations to let them know that we respect you and respect what you've done for this program. We want you to be here for a long time. We want you to be here forever, to be honest with you.
Well, he should, and hopefully, since this is alma mater, I asked him the same question about Mario Cristobal, and this guy's just a class act. If anybody is a Louisville Cardinal, it's definitely Jeff Brom. Go ahead, Marvin.
It's really a win-win. I mean, you got to think. I don't know that Louisville is looking to play the NIL game like the big boys. You know what I'm saying? Louisville is not, a premier football destination, but it's a respected program for sure. You get a guy who went there, families from there. They're at 7 wins this year. They had 9 wins last year. That's a heck of a come up, for that school. They're in a major conference. We'll call it's a major conference. It is, but you don't have to pay $14 million a year like Florida or LSU's about to do to Lane Kiffin. Sorry, Ben. It's not a situation where you got to worry about competing for all the top elite players with Notre Dame and SC and Alabama. I mean, they're going to get guys. They're going to get bounced. They're going to get guys who just transfer out for better opportunities. Listen, he can bring in guys. He brought in Miller Moss from USC. Miller Moss was highly respected, going to last year's season. And he's a good quarterback. Obviously, he lost his job, but he's a sign of what can come. They can bring in other guys from big schools. So this is a good thing for everybody, man. It just makes sense. He's going to coach that team with so much love and all his heart. Again, that's his own school, and he doesn't have the pressure of a guy down at or in LA or in Austin. So this is good for both sides, and I hope they do well.
Candy.
I agree. I agree with Ben, especially. Like, this is Louisville's shot to keep him. And this is, hey, we want you here for a long time. We don't want you to going to any of those other big schools or the big name schools. Yes, this was your alma mater, but let's face it, sometimes money talks. And so kudos to them for trying to working on this contract extension. They're having success. He's building the program there. And it's a win-win for the school and for him.
So everybody's spoken on the topic. Is that correct?
Yes.
Just making sure. Well, let's keep the narrative with coaches. Curt Cignetti got a new deal worth $11.6 million for 8 years. The contract runs for 2033. This guy has been an incredible story all year anyway. That total contract's going to be $92.8 million. But when you look at the timeline and where everything's at, here's a guy that guided his team for a 7-0 start for obviously the second straight year. Then he goes 9-0 for the second straight year, back-to-back, another school record, then 11-0 for the first time in program history. This is just an unbelievable thing, Ben. When you look at Curt Cignetti and what he's done, 7, 9, and 11, and in fact, he's going to get $92.8 million for 8 years. This guy's going to get a statue outside of Indiana. Some thoughts about the job, Ben, that Curt Cignetti's doing?
I'm very impressed with him. I mean, he's a guy that's, he rose to the beat of his own drum. He doesn't mince words. He gonna say what's on his mind, but his team plays hard. I know he had a scare when Penn State took him all the way down to the wire. But Curt Cignetti, who he reminds me of, even though the other guy was a lot younger, Mel Tucker. When Mel Tucker went to Michigan State and he signed that extension, now he didn't get to spend it. But he did sign it. I'm always rooting for guys like Curt Cignetti because it shows that you don't got to go to the biggest name program. And you can go to a basketball school and get big time money. Indiana has a basketball school, but he's getting big time money. And say what you want about Curt Cignetti. Don't nobody want to play Indiana. Like, you can say what you want about them. You do not want to play them right now. And right now, the history of Indiana football is what? Michael Penix, who's hurt again, Antoine Randall L. And now they're in the college football playoff, sitting pretty. I know people thought that 2024 was a fluke, but what they got to say in 2025 now, we're going to see come college football playoff time. But I give a lot of credit to Coach Cignetti. I mean, he's a guy that was on a lot of people's list as well. Indiana, let's go ahead and give him his extension. That way we don't got to worry about his name coming up about LSU or Florida or Auburn, or UAB and so many UCLA. It's so many schools. But congratulations to Coach Cignetti. I mean, a guy that's coached as long as he's coached. And I guarantee you, Miss Cignetti, she's been saying, listen, are we ever going to cash out, baby? Just roll with me. We're going to cash out one. And they just cashed out. So congratulations to him. And like I say, if you got to deal with them Hoosiers it's hard enough to deal with them dudes on the out there on the court. Now you got to deal with them on that grass. And they seem to be a hard team to beat in 2025.
Candy?
Curt Cignetti, he previously held coaching positions at Elon University, Indiana University of Pennsylvania, and James Madison University. But he also coached quarterbacks and tight ends for the Panthers under College Football Hall of Fame coach Johnny Majors. He has done wonders with, like Ben said, a basketball school, making the football program relevant. And not even relevant, but making it so competitive. They're 11-0. Look what he's done with his quarterback. If you know anything about NIL money, his quarterback is now worth double NIL money he was at the beginning of the season. So Curt Cignetti is doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah, once upon a time there was Bobby Knight. Bobby Knight, if you're in your grave, meet Curt Cignetti. Go ahead, Tommy.
Well, his track record suggests that tells us that Indiana is always going to be solid. They're always going to be a good team, well-coached team. But we still have to wait and see if they can play with Ohio State and Oregon and USC if they get back to where they expect to be. Because they're not going to have the depth that Ohio State has because they can't recruit like that. Their recruiting class is only 28th. They're behind Ohio State, Michigan, USC, even Illinois is ahead of Indiana, although only by one spot. But the point is, they're not going to have the depth to compete, to win 11 and 12 games every year. They've hit it big with the guys that came with him from James Madison. They all had great years. And then Mendoza has had a great year. I said this before. Carson Beck was a bigger name than Mendoza. What if Cignetti had signed Carson Beck instead? They wouldn't be unbeaten. He would have had a bad game. Carson Beck would have had a bad interception game. And then the other thing Cignetti has done, is he recognizes they're not going to have the depth, so they're playing a cupcake schedule the first 3 games. So they're always going to start out fast, 3-0, and then we'll see what they got left. But recruiting is still part of the game. I guess it's a matter of whether you hit it with the NIL guys to overcome recruiting. So far, they've done that, but we have to look at another year on him.
Okay. Happy Thanksgiving. To you, Eddie Prather. Jeremy, keep up the good comments in the chat room. We're obviously, we see them, and we definitely will comment on them as time goes on. Mel, go ahead.
Well, Indiana found lightning in a bottle. I mean, I don't know if they really knew what they were getting when they got Curt Cignetti. We know that he's won everywhere that he's been. He always says, Google me. I win. That's what he does. And I don't think, he's a good coach. He's, without question, he's shown us that he's a good coach. Now, Indiana's had to pay him because they know everybody's looking at him because he is a big time coach. Because if he can do what he's doing in Indiana, what can he do in the LSU or Florida, someplace with the resources, or in Auburn or whatever, or Penn State, places with resources? He's doing it at a predominantly what we know, or as a basketball school. He's doing it at Indiana, what's never been done in the history of Indiana football. Right. And he's taken them to consecutive double-digit wins. So they know that he's a good coach, and they know that if he has the right structure behind him, he can win anywhere, especially at the school like LSU or Florida or whatever other jobs may come up. So Indiana has to pay him, and they paid him his first year. After his first year, they paid him because some jobs came up, and they paid him again in the middle of this year after some people started getting fired, particularly when the Penn State job came up, because he's from that area. So he might be redoing his contract every year because they're doing what they need to do in order to keep that coach, because it feels good for Indiana, the people of Indiana, to have something to cheer for on the football field for the first time in forever.
Okay, Marvin.
Yeah, coaching matters. Coaching definitely matters. This is one of the greatest coaching stories, in the last 25 years, I think. Again, a school who there are people out there who probably didn't even know Indiana had a football team. You know what I'm saying? And now these guys are up here competing for playoffs and potentially national championships. What he's really doing is he's raising the bar. You look at these programs, LSU, Florida, who are looking for new coaches, looking for success. And with Cignetti, you get it in year 1, you get it again in year 2, and it puts pressure on all these schools, puts pressure on USC. You know what I'm saying? Like you see this guy come in, with Division II athletes who come up to Division I, played in Indiana, guys who we've had since they were young. You see what happens when you develop guys. You see what happens when guys are able to be with a coach or a staff for a while. You know what I'm saying? So in many ways, I think it's great for college football. In many ways, I think it gives fans of other programs something to be happy about, because you're expecting your new head coach, whoever it may be, Lane Kiffin, wherever he goes, you're expecting them to be able to start fast, because Curt Cignetti did. He did it in Indiana. People will say he did it with lesser athletes. So this is really interesting. A lot of implications. It impacts college football in a lot of different ways, I think, but it's a great story. And, I think, again, coaching is a real thing, and coaching matters.
Yeah, it sure does. Ben, did you have to go somewhere in a couple minutes, or are you still okay for when you have to take your first break?
I can get one more before I have to jump off real quick.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, this will be a good one for you to. And then when you come back on, we'll continue with other ones. All right. So let's talk about former FSU and Texas A&M coach Jimbo Fisher. He's very interested in returning. So what's the best spot for Jimbo Fisher, Ben?
Anywhere but Florida. I mean, he can go to LSU, he can go to UCLA, he can go to Penn State, he can go to Auburn. Do not bring your behind to Florida. Anywhere but Florida. Jimbo Fisher, though, here's the thing about Jimbo Fisher, though. Nothing against him. 2013, he had Jameis Winston. He had Dalvin Cook, the brother of James Cook. He had Jalen Ramsey, right? He had Derwin James. He had all these players, right? All these players that he wanted. Next year, they only lost one game. Then he went to Texas A&M, started getting these guaranteed contracts. I want to say it was 10 years, $75 million fully guaranteed. He hasn't done much since 2013. And all I'm going to keep saying is this. If a national championship keeps you on the minds of these ADs and these chancellors and these decision makers, what does it say about people that's currently doing it? Football coaching is like being a football player. You can't step away from all that time. I think, it ain't like riding a bike. You got to be actively in this thing to be able to stay competitive with it. But like I say, Jimbo, if you want to go to Auburn, to the Plains, if you want to go to UCLA, so you can hang out there, so you can talk to Lincoln Riley about, hey, man, even though y'all in different parts of LA, if you want to go to Penn State, to Happy Valley, long as he don't come down I-75 South and get off in Gainesville, we good. Jimbo, go enjoy yourself, sir. Because the last time I seen Jimbo Fisher, he was telling the fans, say it to my face. That fan was like, if that 6'9" security guard wasn't standing in front of you, I would say it to your face.
That is funny. That is funny. I knew you'd have an incredible take on this one. I just knew. All right. So you know what? Why don't you do what you have to do, and then come on back. We'll let the crew talk about the rest of them.
Listen, save the Bruins and the Trojans. I want to hear this combo at the end. I'm gonna just sit back and we'll pop.
And we'll be back after these messages from Troop and the Hat. Okay, Candy.
Jimbo, I don't know where he's going to go. Like, he hasn't been coaching since 2023, obviously. NIL, transfer portal has really blown up. It's really changed things. So I think it'll be really interesting to see who would bring him in. I mean, he is familiar, obviously, with the state of Florida. He's also familiar with Louisiana State. So, could we see him at LSU? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
What do you think, Marvin?
Listen, I think any school should be happy to get Jimbo Fisher. I think he has been under great leadership in Nick Saban. I think he's had extraordinary success in winning national championship at Florida State. I really don't know what the heck happened at Texas A&M, why it didn't work. It should have worked. It was supposed to work on paper. It looked great. I thought it made perfect sense, but it didn't work. But this guy is knowledgeable. I think he connects with younger players. I think he would do well sitting in front of mom and dad. I think any of these programs we're talking about are going to have the money to be a part of NIL, because that's the major thing, really. If your school isn't willing to play the NIL game, then you're talking about Louisville and that conversation. You know what I'm saying? So, I think it would be great for a school like UCLA. Then again, he has Southern ties. He's a Southern boy. He's that big Southern draw. Auburn. I think Auburn would be happy to get Jimbo Fisher. So I think this is a proven coach who I believe, still has a passion for this. He's getting paid like up the wazoo a day. He doesn't have to work. You know what I'm saying? So, and if he takes a job, he's taking a cut, even though he's going to be making money at the new school. So this guy is a passionate coach. I think he has something to give the game. And I think any of the schools that were mentioned should be glad to have him.
Tommy?
And there isn't a good landing spot for Jimbo Fisher, because I don't think he's a good coach. I have to disagree with you on that, Marvin. He was riding Bobby Bowden's coattails when he took over at Florida State. And if he didn't have this fantastic quarterback, Jameis Winston, they don't win a national title. And as soon as Winston's gone, they start going downhill at Florida State. And he even gets in fights arguments with fans in the stand. What quality, respectful head coach does that? And then, even though he's not doing well, he suckers Texas A&M into giving him this giant contract, and he underachieves at Texas A&M. He's been out of football for a year. He hasn't landed anywhere. Oklahoma State just hired Eric Morris from North Texas. Otherwise, you'd think Oklahoma State might be a good landing spot for him.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, Mel.
I don't think he'll get one of the big jobs, or the LSU job or the Florida job. Maybe Arkansas, a job like that. That might be a good place for him. But then again, are you saying he said he wants to come back to work? Because I don't see what the motivation is when you're getting that kind of money. All you got to do is go out to your mailbox and you're getting that kind of money coming in. I don't understand. I don't see what the motivation is to get back in the rat race, because the game has changed since he left the game. NIL is much bigger now than what it was then. I think it might have just got started when he got ran out of town. But he doesn't have to work. As Marvin stated, he doesn't have to work. So, yeah, I don't know. It's really going to be a matter of whether or not he wants to go to the programs that are willing to hire him. I don't think those big programs are looking at Jimbo Fisher, although he may be a great coach. I don't know Tom and Marvin. Marvin thinks he is. I don't think that Southern twang is going to work at UCLA. I think they need something else. I don't necessarily, know if I would mind it, because, he has been successful. But I don't think that would be a destination job for him. I think that would be kind of a stepping stone opportunity for him. And if he were able to do well at UCLA, I think he'd always have his eyes, looking elsewhere for a better opportunity, because I don't know if UCLA is going to get in a bidding war for Jimbo Fisher in the event he was able to turn that program around.
Well, here's my thoughts on it. Number one, Ed Orgeron, I heard, is a candidate for the Oregon State job, but don't kid yourself. Maybe he'll consider going to Oregon State, where he's way out west, and take a program and try to turn that around. I've seen crazier things happen. I'll just put that out there. A lot more to get to.
Scott, the main thing he'd be able to do is recruit a quarterback. Obviously, the NIL would matter, but because he was the head coach of a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, that carries weight with a lot of kids. That kind of stuff matters, you know what I'm saying? Because they want to know what kind of results can I expect if I work with you. So that was really, and I should have said that earlier, but that's really my thinking. I think he has credibility based on the players he's coached, and I think he can go in there and say, "You remind me of a Jalen Ramsey. You remind me, of whoever." So, that's it. I'm done with that. These guys.
Well, no, what you're talking about. He's a great salesperson. He is.
He is.
It's just like Willie Taggart. I mean, Willie Taggart is getting paid more money from previous jobs, and this guy, give me their agents. Everybody talk about Bobby Bonilla, for crying out loud. Really? Seriously? Really? Wow. Give me Willie Taggart's agent. Give me Jimmy
Sexton. I think Jimmy Sexton is the guy.
I'll take him too. All right, let's go to Alabama. Has never beaten Oklahoma in a regular season game, and Oklahoma led the series 4-2-1. But guess what? Now they made it 5-2-1 with a win over Alabama, 23-21. All right, Candy, what in the heck is wrong with the Crimson Tide? They cannot beat the Oklahoma Sooners.
Some teams just have some others' number, and I don't know if they look past them or what, but sometimes they're just not a good matchup.
Marvin?
I can't speak on the history of it, but I'll tell you what, this guy at Oklahoma, Brent Venables, he's looking like he may be a good one. Oklahoma may have found their guy. Obviously, Lincoln Riley left Oklahoma to come to SC, and that situation is ongoing. We're still in that process. But Oklahoma has gone from, someone who was, I think they went 6-6 his first year, something like that, and now they're looking like a real national contender. And they're, in his ability to beat a Kellen DeBoer, to beat an Alabama who was a top-ranked team. Again, it's just another indicator that Oklahoma's the real deal, and everybody, even Alabama, better fall in line.
Yeah, Oklahoma intrigues me. What are your thoughts, Tommy?
Well, I never root for Alabama, so I'm glad they've lost to the games to Oklahoma. But I will mention 1963 Orange Bowl, President John F. Kennedy in attendance. He loved college football, always went to the Army-Navy game, planned to go to the Army-Navy game when he returned from Dallas, but tragically, of course, didn't make it. 1963 Orange Bowl, Alabama with Joe Namath beat Oklahoma. So Alabama does have one win over Oklahoma.
Okay. Mel?
I think Alabama actually has 2 wins. They've only played 8 times. So, I mean, Alabama has 2 wins.
Yeah, the all-time series is 5-2-1.
Right.
I'm talking about regular season, Tommy, that they haven't beat them in the regular season.
Yeah, I was trying to see where you were going with this rivalry because I didn't see much of a rivalry here. But,
right.
Oklahoma, well, I mean, you got to figure the last couple of years, Nick Saban hasn't been there. So it's been a different team. It's been a transition for Alabama. Alabama is not, the Alabama that we've known for the last number of years. Oklahoma, obviously, they've had some changes there as well with Lincoln Riley going out west, and now Brent Venables is there. And the one thing that Alabama can't do that they've always been able to do is they can't run the football. And we know that Oklahoma has a very, very strong defense. So, Oklahoma is playing to their strengths. Alabama is playing to whatever they're playing to. And Oklahoma has been getting the best of them. And remember now, Oklahoma has been a very, very, very good, strong program for a number of years. I mean, they're no slouch when it comes to playing football. And there was a time period when Alabama was down, when Bear Bryant left, and they had some other coaches there. Alabama was down. When Nick Saban got there, Alabama was down. I don't know how much they played during that period of time, but Oklahoma's been a very good football brand for a very, very long time.
So, yeah, I mean, let's face the reality. Some teams have other teams' number, and the Oklahoma Sooners caught my attention when they beat the Michigan Wolverines earlier in the year, and that play is carried over in the SEC. I wasn't sure what the transition was going to be like for the Sooners, but they've done a good job. Go ahead, Tommy.
I was going to add, I have rooted for Alabama one time when they played Michigan in the college football playoffs, and Alabama and Nick Saban let me down. But, of course, Jim Harbaugh and Michigan were cheating back then, stealing signals.
I was waiting for you to get that one. I just knew that was coming. That's okay, Tommy. It is what it is. Okay. All right, well, let's stay in the state of Texas. Texas A&M coach Mike Elko is finalizing a new contract to make him the highest paid coach in the country. One of the conditions that he had to make sure was that all his assistants get paid raises beginning this season, let alone into the college football playoff. This is an unbelievable story in its own right, Candy. And then we'll talk about another side story about another story that took place out there.
Anytime you root for pay raises for you and everybody else, that just shows you the kind of coaches he has around him and what he thinks of them and how he respects them and what they're doing.
Marvin?
Yeah, I mean, that's just leadership. I mean, it's about serving the people under you, showing gratitude to people who work alongside with you. This is, to me, an example of a modern man and a person who values his team and understands that without the people around him, he's nothing. You know what I'm saying? These assistant coaches, they're the ones, doing a lot of this grunt work, the dirty work, the late night stuff, and just, focusing on the real development of each player. And, it's for his staff, it has to feel good that, when your guy's at the negotiating table, he's not thinking about himself. When you hear about, this money that's being offered to Lane Kiffin and Cignetti and all this stuff, you don't hear anything about the staff. In this case, it's different. So that tells you a lot about his culture, his beliefs, his philosophy, and those kind of actions inspire other people. And again, we're talking about leadership in the highest level of it, and he's showing it.
Tommy?
Well, the good news for Texas A&M fans is Mike Elko has done what a lot of coaches have not been able to do at that school, despite having resources thrown at them. They haven't been able to do it. The bad news for Mike Elko is the good news for Elko is he's richer, and the bad news is he has to live in College Station. But Mike Elko is, I was around him a little bit when he was here at Duke, and Duke is a tough place to win. David Cutcliffe had rebuilt the program, but like a lot of coaches, after 10, 12 years, they start to go downhill. And when Elko came to Duke, things were pretty bad. And he turned it around right away. And because he was so good at turning, he had this choice of a lot of jobs, and he took the Texas A&M job. But if you look at Texas A&M's recent history, all their coaches have never delivered. They've always come up short. despite all the resources that just about any school has. But again, you got to live in College Station.
Mel?
I think Texas A&M is a tough place to win. I think it's one of those schools that they want to be bigger than who they are, but I mean, they're Texas A&M. They're not Texas. They're not Oklahoma. They're not some of those big programs that were in the Big 12. So, and I think they want to be bigger than who they are. Now they're in the SEC, and they're competing with some dogs over there. Now, they had to pay Mike Elko. Now, what Mike Elko has done is he's put action behind his words. If he's really talking about this as us, we, when he's at the negotiating table, he's just not negotiating for himself. He's negotiating for his coaches too, because he knows, hey, you got good coaches, you got good people around you. It just makes his job that much easier. So he also, because he's getting rewarded, he understands that it's not about him. He's not the only one that's doing this. He's being rewarded, then his people need to be rewarded as well, and he's making sure that that they're getting rewarded.
All right, Candy, let's talk about the other side story that came out of College Station. Go ahead and let you lead, and everybody else can follow suit.
Let me go to that, because we were talking about Texas A&M said a state trooper who made contact with South Carolina players during Saturday's game has been relieved of his game day duties after receiver Nick Harbor caught an 80-yard touchdown pass late in the second quarter. He grabbed his right leg, then walked it off up the tunnel with Oscar Attaway III following. As they turned to walk back to the field, a Texas state trooper bumped into Attaway and wedged between him and Harbor, and then turned and pointed at the players, seemingly scolding them. Harbor was quickly pushed away by his teammate, and they continued to the field. The Texas Department of Public Safety is aware of the incident that occurred today during the Texas A&M football game, the DPS said in a statement. The DPS trooper involved was sent home from the game. Our Office of Inspector General is also aware of the incident and will be further looking into the matter. No additional information will be released at this time.
All right, let's go to the players. Marvin, this cannot happen.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. College football is a great game. There are a lot of positive narratives around it. And, with a guy like this is just a bad look, period. I mean, him being a police officer, we're a few years out of Black Lives Matter. The scolding, the pointing of the finger in the face, the aggressive notion. I mean, what are you doing? Does he not understand that he's there to protect those guys? Does he not understand that there are 100,000 people in the stands? They see the players, not the cops. I mean, it's just a bad look. Ignorant, a lot of ego, I think, involved there. I can't get into all the other issues. It just seems like this guy takes that position a little too serious. And in a situation where he could have, given grace or just let it go, he had something to say. And I think it's a bad look for the school, bad look for him, bad look for that department. And to relieve him, I'm trying to think, does he deserve to be fired for that? To relieve him of game day duties means he has a job, but just not doing that. That's probably okay. I don't know if the guy should lose his ability to feed his family over that, but it's a bad look. And I'm happy that they took some type of action. Probably more to come, because I think the public attitude toward that is not good.
Tommy?
Well, a couple of weeks ago, you brought up a topic about Texas justice. Here's the bad side of Texas justice. This guy would have made a good Nazi. There's a lot of cops do great work, but there's always a bad cop out there. Yeah. And this guy obviously is one of them. And I got to say, would he have done the same thing if the player was white? I'm guessing no.
Mel?
Yeah, I think he probably should have lost his job, because he's probably a bad cop. If he's doing that, knowing all the cameras are there, he got all the people in the stadium, he had to know that somebody was going to see him doing what he's doing. What is he doing when people aren't looking? That's what concerns me. So yeah, he probably should have lost his job, because he's probably a bad cop.
No question about it. Yeah, get rid of him. Just keep him away from these players. You can't. these are players. These are student athletes. That's something you can't do. One good story out of Texas is the fact that Texas Tech is 10-1 for the first time since 2008. All right, Candy, some thoughts about the Texas Tech. First time, 10-1, pretty good stuff for them.
Obviously, anytime any team can rebound or grow their program and have success, kudos to them. Like that is something that they're building their football program, and to do it in NIL era, transfer portal era, kudos to them and kudos to their coaching staff, because that's who it really is a testament to all of the parties involved.
Marvin,
I'm sorry.
Texas Tech.
Yeah, Texas
Red
Tech.
Raiders.
Yeah, Red Raiders. Listen, they're big time NIL players now. That matters. That's the day and age that we're in. It's really unbelievable to hear their name brought up, with alongside other major football programs when it comes to like fighting for players. And Texas Tech is winning. They got players from USC. They got one of our running backs, Quentin Joyner, who went over there. I think he broke his foot early and was lost. But the fact that a school like that, who, listen, they were always a respectable mid-major. Michael Crabtree, Billy Joe Tolliver, Lincoln Riley was a player over there, wasn't that good. But obviously they had the legendary coach as well, who just passed away, Mike Leach. But they got that oil money, man. They got that oil money, and if you got that money, you get them players, and you see the results on the field. I mean, listen, say what you want about NIL, but it's bringing these schools back to life, giving these schools life at all, and putting these schools on the map that they've never been on. So, their school should be very thankful for NIL.
Tommy?
Yeah, they have a billionaire that's funding everything, and he's not shy about throwing his money around or talking about how he's throwing around his money. They're located in Texas, so they've got a good recruiting base. And, this is the new age of college football. If you got money to throw around and a guy with deep pockets is not shy about it, you're going to get more. You're going to get better talent. And again, like Mike Elko, the problem with coaching at Texas Tech is you got to live in Lubbock.
I can tell you're really not a big Texas person. Some of the places you've given no endorsements to. It's funny. Great stuff. All right. I was afraid Miami would have to play in Lubbock, and I wouldn't even know what airport to go ahead and fly into if I had to go there. I don't know. Any suggestions? Who knows? Miami's got to get there first. I'll worry about it later. Okay, Mel?
All 10-1s aren't created equal. I mean, I think they're rated number 5 in the polls right now. I think that they're rated high. I mean, you look at their schedule, and they played University of Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Kent State, Oregon State. Those are 3 gimmies right there. Now you look at Georgia's 10-1 record and who they've had to play. It's a great story. It's great for Texas Tech. Great for people who live what city is that Texas Tech is in? I know Patrick Mahomes. I know Mahomes is probably happy because his alma mater is doing well, but eventually they're going to wake up and they're going to find out that they're not as good as they think they are. Now, could they go on a little small run and be relevant for a year? Yeah, it's possible, because anything is possible when you play those games on Saturday. But more than likely, this Cinderella story is going to come to an end, and it's going to come to an end abruptly.
Okay, Marvin, this one's for you. Okay.
Yeah.
USC, your exclusive topic. Travel to Oregon, Marvin. Tail of the tape. You put it out there. Got to let you talk about it. We realize that USC has the Heisman trophies, the national titles, and the conference titles. But what went wrong on Saturday with the Trojans against the Ducks, Marvin?
Yeah, this was a game where the winner of this game had like an 85 or 90% chance of making the playoffs. Essentially, it was a playoff game. Lincoln Riley hasn't beat a top 10 team on the road. This year on the road, we haven't played great at quarterback. We went into the game as a 10.5-point underdog, which initially I thought was so disrespectful and crazy. But what we knew about this was USC was going in with the top-ranked offense. Oregon had a top-ranked defense. Oregon had a serious run game, serious run defense, played great in the box on defense. listen, game started. We were 7. It was 7-0 USC. We scored on the opening drive. They scored on their opening drive. Both teams scored again on the next drives. It's 14-14 in the first half. In the second quarter, we had a missed field goal. We had a penalty on a fourth down field goal on defense, which gave them the ball back, which they scored because they were in the red zone. And we had a punt return for a touchdown. Special teams cost us 14 points, at least 14 points in the first half. USC never got back from that. Oregon ran the ball at will. I mean, their offensive line play was amazing. I mean, the way they were kicking out and blocking down and just dominating our 300-pounders on the inside, it was remarkable. They were down their top 3 receivers and still made plays in the pass game. You know, they're down their top 3 receivers and just out of fear of what they could do. I mean, we're playing 12 yards off, playing man off, almost 10 yards off. They won the game in the trenches. You know, we were averaging over 150 yards a game rushing, almost 200 yards a game. We had like 50 yards rushing, whereas they had almost 200 yards. You know, again, we came in there with the top-rated offense. Our quarterback threw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, but he threw for 2 picks, which is, you know, not like him. But on the road, he hasn't been great. Oregon took advantage of some serious opportunities there. Their quarterback played efficient, and in certain situations, he looked great. Ultimately, it's a game of inches, and USC made too many mistakes on special teams, and Maava, threw a couple picks. And when you're playing on the road against a program like that, Oregon is definitely a top program. They have elite players. Dan Lanning's done a phenomenal job coaching this team, but they beat us in the trenches on offense and defense. They made I think they had 13 or 14 penalties, which wasn't great for them. But even with that, I mean, they beat us by over 15 points. So, yeah, the Oregon Ducks came out there running the ball, throwing the ball efficiently, playing tough defense. Our special teams mistakes were one that we couldn't get over, and we had 3 big ones. And at the end of the day, definitely the more talented team, more prepared team won. And the Oregon Ducks, I'm going to tell you something, there's somebody who you do not want to face, especially when they're in Autzen Stadium, because right now they are humming.
Okay, Candy Ebling, you'll take the lead on this, but we saw a remarkable game on Saturday night. It's a turnaround for Jim Mora at Connecticut. For the first time in program history, the team has won 9 games. Candy, give us an overview of what we saw on Saturday night that got Jim Mora his 9th win. And FAU's not bowl eligible yet. Maybe there's a chance they could get there at 5, but Candy, summarize Saturday, please.
So UConn jumped out to a 24-3 lead in the first quarter, and then it was all offense and offense and offense. In this game, UConn had 600 yards, total yards. They had 31 first downs. FAU had total yards 687 with 37 first downs. Passing yards for both teams were over 400. FAU almost had 494. It went back and forth. Like, FAU came back. They did take the lead. It was kind of who had the ball at the end. FAU did miss a last-minute field goal to tie the game. I forget exactly. I don't remember how long that field goal was, but I do know he missed it at the end. But like I said, FAU came back from 24-3 in the first quarter, and really hung with them. Did take the lead. You got to give Caden Veldkamp. He's a junior. He's the quarterback for FAU. He was 42 out of 55 attempts for 494 yards. He also had 2 touchdowns. He did have 1 interception. They threw in a couple of trick plays to, get it going. The other thing is I believe there was a couple of different things that FAU had records with this game. One of them was that they had 3 receivers all over 100 yards, and I think that was the first time that had happened in school history.
All right, Wrestling Up, thank you very much for reposting the show. Much appreciated. All right, Tommy, it's your turn. Okay, Tommy, today's Jimmy the Great. He actually predicted that NC State to rebound against Miami's 41-17 loss as Wolfpack defeated FSU 21-10. So here's the thing, Tommy. Let's not kid ourselves. I didn't watch it. I fell asleep at 8 o'clock. I was tired from the week. But did Santa Claus have anything to do with this? Because I understand that Florida State was in a very giving mood and turned the football over 4 times. And we realized Christmas is right around the corner. Tommy, summarize that football game, and then you're going to give us a prediction about the North Carolina State game afterwards.
Yeah, like I said last week, North Carolina State is always up and down. And they were at home against Florida State, and Florida State's not that good, so I'm not surprised that they won the game. But, yeah, it was a bizarre game, one of the most bizarre plays you'll ever see. North Carolina State was only up 14-11, and they got stopped at midfield and punted the ball. And the punter kicked it straight up in the air almost. And the Florida State players were so confused and trying to get out of the way. When the ball came down, it not only hit a Florida State player on the helmet, but it bounced straight back to the North Carolina State punter. And he was able to fall on the ball for possession. And it's not over yet. Again, North Carolina State couldn't get a first down. They punted, and the Florida State receiver muffed the ball. NC State recovered, and this time cashed in with a touchdown, and they won 21-11. So it was a strange game, but nothing is strange about North Carolina State. They often lose when they should win, and win when you don't win when you've given up on them, and they won that game. North Carolina, they've been pointing for this game for a long time. They've beaten North Carolina 5 straight. Doran doesn't like North Carolina. A couple of years ago, Mac Brown, when he was the North Carolina coach, made a comment about North Carolina students, players. It's tougher to get into North Carolina than a state school like North Carolina State. And Doran did not like that. He got his team fired up. And like I said, they've beaten North Carolina 5 straight years, which was part of the reason Mac Brown is no longer the coach. And then Doran is kind of like what they talk about in the ACC is when Belichick got the job, and he talked about this being the 33rd NFL team. And all these people that think that he's the greatest coach ever, forgetting that Vince Lombardi has a better record than him, especially if you take Tom Brady away from Belichick. All these ACC coaches didn't like it that Belichick was getting all this attention, and they were waiting for their chance to beat him. If you remember the season opener, that's exactly what the TCU coach said after the game.
Right.
After they routed North Carolina, he said, all week long, all summer long, all anybody talked about was North Carolina. We got a good team too. So Belichick has already lost to Wake Forest. Last week he lost to Duke. Manny Diaz an old Belichick play where they were down by the goal line. He lined up his tight end as a tackle, and the North Carolina defense didn't recognize it, and he was wide open in the end zone for a touchdown. The funny thing about that, and the speculation was Diaz did this to kind of poke a finger at jab a finger at Belichick, because Belichick did that with in the playoffs against the Ravens, and the NFL ended up making a rule against that formation. And then later in the game, North Carolina actually came back and was ahead, and Duke pulled off a fake field goal for a first down, and then scored a touchdown. Now, usually when you pull off some kind of fake punt or fake field goal, a skill guy makes the play, right? They flipped the ball to the kicker, and he ran 26 yards for a first down.
Yeah.
And then, so Duke beat North Carolina. So Belichick, and that eliminated North Carolina from having any chance for a bowl game. They're 4-7 with 1 to play. And North Carolina State, you can be sure, has been waiting for this game all year, and they've got something planned for them. And so North Carolina invested $50 million in Bill Belichick for a job any other bright young coach could have done. And you could have paid him half the money and put the other $25 million into NIL money for players. So it's an embarrassment in North Carolina, and they're getting what they deserve.
Just like Dave Dorn's going to get what he deserves when I get finished with him. So I haven't let that one get away from me yet, let alone I will. I'm not done with Dave Dorn, but the fact is I can only imagine that his press conference against FSU might have been a little bit more interesting because he didn't lose it. He didn't get killed too bad. With that said, I'll leave it alone there, but I'm not leaving this alone. Tommy, time for the Shanahan report. We're going to do this right now. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, I just posted a story today. It looks like Michigan State is going to give Jonathan Smith a third year, even though this has been a hugely disappointing season. 2 years is really not a fair chance for anybody. And if we look at college, everything's changed now with NIL money and donors having a say in who's going to be the coach. But it looks like there's no rumors out there about a coach in the hunt for the Michigan State job. So it looks like Smith is going to come back for a third year. And that just got me to thinking, and this is a story I posted on my website. It's on today about simpler times. And I talked about how past is prelude and Michigan State is back to where they were in 1980 when Darryl Rogers, he won a couple years with Denny Stoll's players that he inherited. But he recruited so poorly in the Midwest because he's a West Coast guy that he jumped ship for Arizona State. And one of the guys that was interested in the job at the time was Bill McCartney. He was a Michigan assistant at the time. But Bo Schembechler didn't want him to take the job because he was afraid McCartney was going to turn out to be another Biggie Munn. Biggie Munn was the guy that turned Michigan State, came to Michigan State in 1947 and won a national title by 1952. And then Duffy Doherty's his top assistant succeeded him and won national titles. So that's what Schembechler was afraid of, and he didn't want McCartney to take the job. Well, McCartney goes to Colorado a few years later. He starts out 2-8-1, 4-7 his second year. Third year, 1-10. A guy would never survive that today. And even back then, it's surprising that he survived it. But he survived it. He bounced back with a 7-5 record in his fourth year. And then he was ranked number 1 in 1990 before they lost to Notre Dame. And then Colorado did win the national title in 1991, even though you'll hear Paul Feinbaum say on the SEC network when talking about Deion Sanders that this is a school with no tradition. Colorado has been in a down cycle for a long time, but they have plenty of tradition.
Well, Paul Feinbaum, run for the Senate so we don't have to hear you anymore, and I'll leave it at that. And don't worry, Marvin, we'll readdress that on the Sports Exchange another time so you get your crack at Paul. Don't worry. I just thought since Tommy set me up we'll do that, and I'll set Candy Ebeling up for a station break. When we come back, we'll talk more pro football.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Talks about his 40-plus years in the industry and how it has evolved, old school media versus new school media. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great content. So go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, or if you want to be a guest or have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Back to you, Scott.
Thank you, Candy. All right, let's talk about the midway point of the season. Jared Goff had almost an identical record with the Rams and the Lions. He was 42-27 with the Rams and 42-26-1 with the Lions. I'm telling you something. When you think about this particular number, this to me is just unbelievable what he's been able to do compared to what he's at, out in Detroit. You talk about that, what he's going to have to deal with in the next month. I always say they'll end up, him and Matthew Stafford will face each other next month. But let's just talk about the comparison with Jared Goff's number, Marvin, from his time in the Rams, let alone with the Lions.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird because, with the Rams, again, he was basically moved on from. McVay wanted Stafford in there, but Goff was the number one pick, great player in college. Led them to a Super Bowl. Went to the playoffs. But at the end of the day, he was kicked out, and then he goes to Detroit. To a place where they haven't had any success. And with him and the new coach, and just with that new mindset, new culture with Campbell, I mean, they've really flourished and done very well. I don't know about the number. I'm not a numbers guy. I can't speak to the coincidence, but I could tell you that this guy was productive, I thought, to a degree in LA, but was able to move on into what is obviously a better chapter for him, as he's a part of an NFC juggernaut over the last couple of years, and he's leading it. So he's getting it done, and I think when you look at what he's done there already and what that culture is, you would expect him to have more success.
Candy?
He in college, Goff played for the California Golden Bears, setting Pac-12 records for passing touchdowns and yards. In high school, he led Marin Catholic High School's football team to many victories. He's been selected in the Pro Bowl in 18, 19, 22, and 24. Obviously, he was traded back in 2021. In May of 2024, Detroit extended Goff's contract for 4 years and $212 million. I think this was a win-win trade for both teams. Stafford wasn't getting it done in Detroit for whatever reason, whether it be coaching, whether it be the other players on the team. Did they surround him with enough talent? No, but look at enter Goff, enter the Campbell years, and look what Detroit's flourished, but so have the Rams. So that was a win-win.
Tommy?
Yeah, you look at Jared Goff, and I don't know enough about evaluating a quarterback to understand why McVay didn't think he could win a Super Bowl. I mean, they did go to a Super Bowl with him. They didn't win. But the thing that I find fascinating, tale of two cities, is Goff is beloved in Detroit because he came along at a time Dan Campbell has been rebuilding the program, and the front office has been making better draft picks, and the Lions fans love him. Stafford was a victim of Detroit at their worst point when they were always botching the draft. He was an example of a quarterback going high to a bad team, and then his career suffering for it. It would have been, I think it would have been such a better story. And of course, they love Stafford with the Rams now. But last year, Goff beat the Rams in the playoffs, or was that 2 years ago? In the playoffs, and the Detroit fans just loved backing Goff in that game. But think about what a story would have been if Stafford, and I don't blame him for wanting to get out of there because it looked hopeless when he did leave. But think if Stafford had stayed there all this time, and then the franchise rebuilt when he's still there. Maybe they do get to the Super Bowl because they had a good chance, and they blew that game against the 49ers.
Yeah, I love Matthew Stafford. And Goff ended up beating him, I think, last year in the regular season at home as well. So he got 2 wins out of the whole thing. Mel?
Just shows that Jared's been very consistent. He's been playing, consistently at a high level for both franchises. And, you can talk about the trade, but at the end of the day, Jared is a professional. He had to rebuild his confidence. Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions had to rebuild his confidence. I think he lost his confidence in LA and the things that were coming out of LA and the things that Sean McVay may have been conveying to him. And he's fit into the LA community. And then again, they got some draft capital along with Jared Goff as well. Right. That helped the team and helped them to be able to build this team into what it is today. So it just shows the level of consistency that Jared Goff has and that he's been playing at a very high level for a very long time.
Let's stay with the Jared Goff theme while we're at it. The monsters that have played with both Jared Goff, he says, our Aiden Hutchinson's impact reminds him of Aaron Donald, a game wrecker who's ruined a few practices he's gotten, and he's glad that they're on the same field. Let's continue. Jared Goff has played with Aaron Donald and Aiden Hutchinson. What are your thoughts about that, Mel?
Different type of pressures. They're different players because Aaron Donald's going to bring you pressure from the inside. Aiden Hutchinson's bringing pressure from the outside. Jared has been able to, if he's able to step up in the pocket, he's fine. If he's not able to step up in the pocket, it's a problem. And I think that's what you've seen. We've seen over the last few weeks when Detroit has struggled offensively is that they've been putting a lot of pressure on Jared up the middle and making Jared move his feet. If he can keep his feet planted, he's just as good as anybody. So, obviously he's been fortunate. That helps him out a lot, gives him opportunities. If they're getting sacks, they're getting more possession. That gives him opportunities to put more numbers on the board. So, I mean, that's good for him.
Tommy?
Hey, Aaron Donald is one of the greatest defensive linemen ever. I mean, those plays he made when they won the Super Bowl in those tight situations with those stops, he's a great player. Hutchinson's trajectory started out great, but he's had that knee injury, and I guess he's not getting pressure this year like he got earlier in his career. So we'll have to kind of wait and see if he recovers from that injury. But Hutchinson is not at Donald's level.
He's a piece, that's for sure. They're both pieces. Candy?
Part of the success has to do with the running game, too, of Detroit. And that's where Sonic and Boom, like both of those two, if they take care of the ball and they run, Detroit is very, very hard to stop with those two.
Marvin?
Yeah, I mean, how lucky is that guy that he's played with two outstanding players? I mean, again, Aaron Donald, one of the best to ever do it. So just to be able to, as a young player, have those conversations with Aaron, at practice, in the locker room, just out socializing, and just being able to see, what a dominant force can be, and get that perspective in practice. Lucky for him. And then with Aiden Hutchinson, he's a younger player, but still he's an outstanding player. And he, this is a guy who I think has already had a Pro Bowl appearance. So, it's to Goff's benefit that you get to see that in practice, get up close to it, ask questions. This is, that's the benefit of, being on a team that has great players and drafts well and retains a strong roster. You're around a lot of talent and veteran presence, and that all helps a young quarterback or a growing quarterback.
Yeah, Brad Holmes has had a lot to do with that in Detroit, that's for sure. He's done a really marvelous job. The NFL is going to be playing a game in Rio de Janeiro. So, Marvin, your thoughts about them playing in Rio?
Listen, I hope that this, from a safety standpoint, it's all good. Basically, Rio, they say, is not a place you want to be after dark. I hope that the field is okay. Obviously, we've had that conversation where just, some of these international fields, the playing surface isn't what you would expect, considering the elite talent you're putting on that field. But in regards to the business, which this is, it's not football, y'all. It's a business, and they're here to make money. This is Roger Goodell and those owners pushing that brand, baby, pushing that brand, trying to get more and more fans, more and more viewers, more people buying these streaming services, more people buying the merch. I mean, it's more people buying the international packages that they're trying to sell so people can watch these games. This is all part of the plan. You know what I'm saying? I love it. As a player, I personally think I would have loved to play somewhere international. Maybe some of those vets, maybe the guys with the wives and the kids may feel differently. But for those younger players, they're excited. What a thing for Rio. Their fans get to watch the greatest game in the world. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sure they're happy about that. And again, the NFL is pushing this brand, making it bigger and bigger.
Well, a lot of people know the Rio de Janeiro is known for its bikinis and beaches and beautiful women. I'll tell you what.
Like I said, the young boys is happy about that. Like I said, Scott, this is a family channel.
Exactly, a family say. I had to state it obvious. It may not be Wild Wednesday, but it's it's Tuesday. It's inside. It's bikinis, beautiful women, beaches. Oh well, that'll be for another time, guys. Go ahead, Candy.
How do I follow up that? Wait a minute.
Well, I don't know. You always research your way out of everything.
Let's face it, the NFL is a marketing genius, because what do they have left to do besides to grow wherever they can in all of these different places, in all these different international places? I mean, before long, we'll see maybe a team internationally, but until then, they're going to keep exploring these different markets, making sure they grow their brand, grow their viewership, grow the people that they're going to buy merchandise, like Marvin was saying. They're going to buy jerseys. They're going to want to go see these teams. We've seen that more and more. My only question is then what's left for the NFL? How else can they grow? They just keep finding new ways to grow and expand.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Japan. Okay, go ahead, Tommy.
Yeah, it's interesting because it wasn't that long ago. There were serious questions about the NFL's future because of all the concussion problems and players dying and committing suicide. And you had a lot of soccer moms that didn't want their kids playing football. But the NFL has overcome that, and the worldwide audiences want to see the game. Look at boxing. Boxing is an international sport, but it has not recovered from all the concussions and death risk of the sport. So it's interesting they're able to expand internationally. Since they're going to Brazil, I'm going to take this chance to mention I had a high school girlfriend who was a foreign exchange student from Brazil. Amelia Maria Bastos Tenzel. I never thought I'd say her name on a podcast. I'm sure she's not listening, but maybe she will. Maybe someone will forward it to her. I don't know if she'll be at the game. But the other thing I think about the NFL going to Rio is when they had the World Cup soccer there a few years ago. The greatest scene I thought was the American fan who dressed up like Teddy Roosevelt, and because Teddy Roosevelt. After he was president, explored the Amazon. In fact, he got malaria and other diseases. He almost died from that trip. But that was a great character in the audience to be dressed up like Teddy Roosevelt. So maybe whoever that was, they'll make a return appearance.
Nothing I'll say about Rio de Janeiro. Mike Greenberg was whining a long time ago about the Olympics in the water, and that's what got me thinking about this topic. That's why I included it. Candy?
I talked about Rio.
Okay, who's left? Mel. Okay, go ahead. Sorry about
that. Again, this just talks about the NFL and that marketing machine. So the NFL's gone to Europe, they've gone to Asia, they've gone to South America. And they've gone to Australia, right? They went down under. Then they play a game down under. So I'm waiting for them to hit hit Africa. When are they ever going to go to Africa? That's what I'm waiting for the NFL to do, is go to Africa.
That's a fair question. All right. I'm
going to what I'm waiting for them to do, Mel, is baseball has all these academies in Puerto Rico and the Caribbean. Think about all the great Nigerian football players, guys. Not if they weren't from Nigeria, their parents were Nigerians. Why doesn't the NFL open some kind of football camp in Nigeria?
Listen, once you explain to them the business model that makes that profitable, they will.
Yeah. Okay. I hope I can get in on it.
Yeah.
All right. I got one non-sports topic tonight. This is as G-rated as it can get. We're talking about food. Most people on Thanksgiving talk about turkey. So I decided, let's go ahead and add pizza to this thing. The first pizza ever sold in the U.S. was made by an Italian immigrant by the name of Gennaro Lombardi in New York City in 1905. Long before my grandparents were born, Lombardi came from Naples, Italy, and started selling tomato pies to a local factory workers from the grocery store in Little Italy. My goodness. we're talking about the first pizza ever invented. Marvin, what are your thoughts? You're used to these non-sports rooms anyways.
I love the entrepreneurial spirit. You know what I mean? Get money. I love it. And I tell you what, I was in New York 2 weeks ago. Great pizza, phenomenal pizza. I used to live there, obviously, but I fell in love with the pizza. That young man, that tradition that man started in 1905, it lives on. They selling pizza on every corner in New York. And listen, great story.
Candy?
Let's face it, pizza is a popular Italian dish. Originating in Naples, Italy, it was brought to the United States by an Italian immigrant. And it's interesting because they have different regional styles, such as Chicago deep dish. But let's face it, where do the Red Wings and the Pistons play? Little Caesars Arena, because there's Little Caesars pizza too. So, pizza, as tasty as it is, it might not be very healthy for you unless you make it healthier. But let's face it, it's become one of America's favorites.
I like Buddies in Detroit myself. But that's just personal preference. Okay, Tommy?
Yeah, everybody loves pizza. What I've always thought is interesting is two of the giant pizza chains that have owned franchises in Detroit are Detroit-based, Domino's and Little Caesars.
Right.
And the other thing that I think about with pizzas, from my days in San Diego, a guy who had a very small piece ownership of the Chargers, going back to their AFL days when you could do that before they were a billion-dollar franchise, was a guy named George Percano, and he was from Detroit, and he had a great Italian pizza restaurant in San Diego, very famous. And in fact, Joe Namath, when the Jets came to San Diego, Joe Namath always went there.
Mel?
So what are we talking about as far as pizza? We're talking about pizza and Thanksgiving?
Yeah. Go ahead. I'll repeat it again because this is unbelievable how you really connect these nowadays, turkeys and pizza. The first pizza ever sold in the U.S. was made by an Italian immigrant by the name of Gennaro Lombard. I was not used to these non-sports ones anyways. In New York City in 1905, before his dad was born, Lombard came from Naples and started selling tomato pies to a local factory. Workers from his grocery store in Little Italy. There you go. That's a little history about when the first one back in 1905, 120 years ago now. That's what we're talking about. Amazed or what?
Well, hey, glad he invented it because me and my grandkids, anytime I get my grandkids, that's what we get. It's a pizza. So, hey, I'm glad that he came up with that idea, putting some tomato paste or tomato sauce on some bread and throwing some cheese on there and maybe throw some sausages and pepperonis or whatever else you want on there. It's a great idea. Wish I thought of it myself.
Yeah, tell your grandkids about Gennaro Lombard, no relation to Vince Lombardi. Okay. With that said, everybody got a piece of the action here because now we're going to go to Bernie Kosar. His story gets more inspiring every day. Today he celebrated his 62nd birthday. Everybody knows about his liver transplant. He's a good friend of mine. We text about it every day. But Marvin, I know we talked a little bit about it last week. We'll talk a little bit more about it tomorrow as I have some good history about Bernie Kosar. But what are your thoughts about Bernie Kosar's story, Marvin?
It's awesome, man. Again, just in a day and age of so many sad stories and crazy stories and political, it's good to see, that there's a positive story out here. A guy who was great for the game, who had many fans, a very positive impact on a community in Cleveland. It's good to see that, this man's life will be a few more years, you know what I'm saying? And, it was a beautiful story how a Cleveland Brown fan was the one to donate the organ. And, again, just showing, the power of giving, the power of paying it forward, the power of just, kind people and kindness, man. So I'm happy to hear a positive story, something that's real. And, Bernie obviously is able to live to talk about the gratitude he has for that young man and just the opportunity to spend more time with his family. It's a great NFL headline. It's a great life headline. Speaks well of our culture, which is going through a lot right now. And I'm just happy for Bernie and happy for the NFL community as well.
You want to hear a positive story? Wait till you hear the one I got coming up next. Candy?
Obviously, Bernie Kosar had a great career, and kudos to him that he's able to prolong his life Obviously, it's at the expense of somebody else because he had a liver transplant, but kudos to the person that donated it, because if for all of you to know that, like, I'm a donor. So if something happens to me and I'm no longer alive, I want my life to go on with others and help others, because that's the nature of me. I'm trying, and so kudos to the person that gave up, obviously, their liver. Hopefully Bernie lives a healthy, long rest of his life. But happy for him, and happy for him that it happened so close to his birthday and Thanksgiving. What a time to be thankful.
Tommy.
Yeah, it's a great story. But the thing I always think about is how much differently we would think about both Bernie Kosar, and I mentioned Marty Schottenheimer earlier, if it wasn't for Denver and John Elway. The two heartbreaking losses. If they just win one of those games and get to the Super Bowl one time, I think how much different their legacies would be. Because we all remember the fumble that cost when the Denver running back was going in for the touchdown. And then, of course, Elway put together the incredible drive. But that's how easily fate, a guy's legacy can turn on just such a moment. It's we would look at both Kosar and Marty Schottenheimer so much differently.
Great point. Mel?
Well, it's a great blessing for Bernie Kosar, because somebody did have to lose their life in order to save his. And you think back to Nick Mangold, who just passed away a few weeks ago, needed a kidney transplant. He was unable to find a donor that would match so that he could extend his life. Obviously Walter Payton, when he passed away, he needed a liver when he passed away. So it's a great blessing for him that he was able to receive this liver at this time of the year. I'm sure he's extremely thankful and grateful, and just the fact that it's around his birthday. What better birthday present could he ask for than to extend his life?
Yeah, he has ended up meeting the victims, his donor's mom, today. A great story. We'll be talking more about it tomorrow with a different group. And I told you had another good field topic, and it's also going to carry a little over for those that haven't spoken about it. And that's the fact that Drake May and his wife have been dating since middle school, and they were just 12 years old. May and his wife's name is Ann Michael Hudson, and Drake May have been dating since middle school when they were just 12 years old. May and Hudson started dating in 2015 and have been together ever since. They got married in June 2025. I've heard of a high school sweetheart, but never heard of a middle school sweetheart, Marvin. And this will be carrying over a little bit tomorrow night for the few people that don't have a chance to talk about it tonight. Go ahead, Marvin.
Hey, listen, you gotta know how to pick him. And in this day and age, his celebrity success, he's been a millionaire since college with NIL. It's hard to figure out who loves you versus who loves the opportunity to be with you in your riches. So kudos to him for sticking with the same girl and not bouncing her out for one of these new chicks out there. Listen, loyalty matters, man. The ones who's really down for you and love you, that's who you want to be with. Get you a girl with some values. You know what I'm saying? Someone who really knows you and is with you for the right reasons. And it's okay for a girl to want to be with a guy who's successful. But success is subjective. You know what I mean? We can define that different ways. I'm happy for him. I bet you this one lasts. And just congratulations to him and his family.
Candy?
What an awesome story, because you hear of so many people that it doesn't work. And we hear all the time about the bad ones, and how this divorce and how that divorce, or how they started together and then they broke up, or and with his success, he still has the same person right by his side. That's a testament to her and to him and their commitment, and in a day and age where a lot of people don't know what the word commitment truly means, or they don't act on that. This is just a great story, and a great way to show others, including young people, what commitment really means. And together,
Tommy.
Yeah, well, it is a great story that they came across each other and found each other. Drake May has always been a level-headed guy. He comes from an athletic family. His dad was a quarterback at North Carolina. His older brother played on North Carolina's one of their NCAA championship teams with Roy Williams. So we know he's a pretty level-headed guy, and obviously he has a like-minded girlfriend/wife. One of the stories I had heard about them is obviously the guy has plenty of money, and they donated all their wedding gifts to charity. So interesting couple.
Mel.
She saw the potential in him in middle school. That's why she hitched her wagon to him. You're going to find out about her, if hopefully it never happens to him. But, typically, the old saying is when the money runs out, they run out. So we'll see, everything is great right now. Everything is gravy. So, yeah, they're happy. She's happy. And I hope it works out for him. I really do. But Marvin knows it. He's seen it. When the money runs out, they run out. So we'll see.
No money, no honey.
That's all right. You guys are gonna be going at it in about 5 minutes, so hang in there. We'll see what happens. Yeah, it's a great story for sure. It starts in middle school for the high school sweetheart, but this one took it to a new level. The fact that it happened in middle school is unbelievable. All right, with that said, Hawaii approves a plan to build a new Aloha Stadium. I actually drove by the old one and even bought some items at an old flea market. Can you imagine, Marvin, what it would have been like to play football in Hawaii at Aloha Stadium? I know they had Pro Bowls there, but I'm happy the University of Hawaii is going to be getting a brand new stadium. I wouldn't be surprised they even put a Pro Bowl there one day, because I know the players used to like to go there. But what are your thoughts about the fact that they are building a new football stadium on the old site at Aloha Stadium?
Well, first of all, I got a lot of love for that old stadium. My dad played in many Pro Bowls there, at least 4 or 5. I know he rejected one year. But listen, Hawaii football is huge in Hawaii. Youth program, high school, that culture, those people out there love that program. And I'm happy that they're investing money into a new stadium. In this day and age of NIL and, just more media, more coverage, you need shiny things. You really need shiny things. You need facilities. You need something to show. It helps generate money. And this is a smart move, a smart investment into that community, into that school. I think it's only a positive thing. And I look forward to seeing, what other events we hold there. We don't have the Pro Bowl game anymore. That's out because of concussions. But hey, maybe one day you have a Super Bowl there. You know what I'm saying? We'll see. I don't know how much tech they're going to put inside of it, but it's a good thing for college football for sure. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, as I understand, I think the stadium is going to be like 23,000, 24,000 people. So
okay.
All right. With that said, Ben is back in the house just in time for this topic. Ben, what are your thoughts about playing football in Hawaii? They're building a new Aloha Stadium there for the University of Hawaii. I'm sure you probably would have. I don't know if you ever played there, but would you have liked to have played there?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing bad about playing football in Hawaii. I mean, they get a new stadium, you get a new stadium, old stadium, you in Hawaii. And I heard that when you get recruited, I play when I got drafted in 2004, I got drafted with a guy named Travis LeBoy who played for Hawaii. And he said when they recruit you, they say you got to give them like verbal commitments. They ain't got just a bunch of guys just coming to visit Hawaii to see if they want to go there or not. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if there are better there are better schools to play at. I don't think there are better schools and locations to play at than Hawaii. So congratulations to the Hawaii. What they used to be the Fighting Rainbows. What are they now? They used to be the Fighting Rainbows.
Well, they're Rainbow Warriors, as I understand.
Oh, they're the Rainbow Warriors now. Okay. But yeah, it's Hawaii. It's a, beautiful place to live, beautiful place to play football. And my nephew who plays for Kennesaw State, they might be going to a bowl game in Hawaii. I mean, I don't know. I might have to. I ain't never been to Hawaii. I had to have a reason. I ain't like Marvin who said, yeah, taking the kids to Times Square. I am not taking my kids to Times Square. Oh no, they'll shut Times Square down. I said, oh no, if it embarrassed me. But yeah, congratulations to the Hawaii. They trying to keep up. The new thing is facilities, but with a new stadium, hey man, shout out to them.
24,000. You know, Ben, I'm going to ask you about this. We just spoke about it. You're just in time for this one, and then we're going to get to predictions. Okay, and that's this. Excuse me, I had something caught my throat. Obviously, Ann Michael Hudson and Drake May have been together since they were dating in middle school. What are your thoughts about the fact these two kids have been dating since middle school, and they were just 12 years of age? They obviously started dating in 2015, got married in 2025. This is a love story in every sense of the word, isn't it, Stan?
It is. It is. I mean, it shows that, what true love conquers all, right? I mean, to be with a person, there are high school sweethearts, and you got middle school sweethearts.
Yeah.
Did they grow up? Did they not grow up in a big town? Was it a big city they grew up in? Was it a small town they grew up in?
I don't know.
That sounds like a small town that became something. What was that area? I mean, yeah. Drake can do no wrong these days. You see how when you start playing well, they get all in your business. So you start playing well in 9-2, MVP candidate. Now they talking about your lady. Well, and then when they got engaged in 2025 and got married in 2025, if I'm not mistaken. And man, Drake may find a way to get it done. I mean, congratulations to him. You know, marriage is a beautiful thing, man. You know, and I think for him, I think it shows why he plays the way he plays because, you know, he has a solid foundation, solid structure at home.
Okay, Tommy, back to the Hawaii question and the Hula Bowl being rebuilt. Some thoughts about that place?
Yeah, I was at the Aloha Stadium many times. I covered games there when I covered San Diego State football. Michigan State played out there in 2004. I went with as a fan, dragged my wife with me. And that was when John L. Smith was in the process of running down the Michigan State program and getting in a fight with June Jones and turning Hawaii's fans against Michigan State. And if you know anything about Hawaii football and Michigan State football, Duffy Daugherty, in addition to his pioneering leadership of recruiting black players from the South, was the first coach to bring Hawaiian and Samoan players to the mainland. Bob Apiza from Honolulu Farrington was the first All-American Samoan player. That was Michigan State's legacy in Hawaii because Duffy Daugherty had a close relationship with longtime Hawaii coach Kakui. And June Jones, with no understanding of Michigan State history, starts a fight with June Jones and turns the Hawaii fans against the Spartans. But the thing about that stadium, it was about 50,000, a little bit under, and it was originally built for football and baseball. It was considered a kind of a modernistic stadium because the stands would move to fit baseball or football dimensions. And Jim Bouton was when Jim Bouton was trying to make it back to the major leagues, and he wrote Ball 4. He was with the Hawaii Islanders for a while.
Right.
He writes about his time in Hawaii playing at the old Hawaii-based stadium before Aloha Bowl, I should say that. But Tony Gwynn played his minor league baseball career in Hawaii.
Really?
Before he was brought up to the Padres, and he played in that stadium. And I got to tell one more story because I don't know when I'll ever get a chance to tell the story again. I used to, in addition to the college games I mentioned, they had an event in Hawaii called the Sean Akina Classic, where mainland teams will come over and play Hawaii. And San Diego teams win every year. And I started making a work vacation out of it where I would cover the games and then just stay over there for a while too. And one year, Morse High School, Marvin, I don't know if you've heard of them from your time in Southern California. They were a powerhouse, and Morse had a great team, and they went to play St. Louis, which has turned out many NFL players, including Marcus Mariota. And there were 27,000 fans at the game at Aloha Stadium. So the fans turned out at that stadium. 23,000 sounds kind of small. I'm surprised it's not bigger. But I got to tell one more story from my Hawaii trips. I was out in the water in Waikiki Beach, way out deep before It was time to head in and go to the games. And I decided I'm going to stay just another minute or two. It's so nice out here. And I'm just treading water. I could touch the bottom a little bit because I'm not a good swimmer. And all of a sudden I hear this screaming from behind me. And it was a little Japanese girl, about 10 or 12 years old, that was flailing in the water. She got caught up in the current somehow. And later I learned, I repeated what she said to someone who speaks Japanese. And she was just simply yelling, help, help. So for whatever reason, the lifeguards didn't see what was going on. I turned around and was able to bring her and drag her in. And I'm not a good swimmer. And if I couldn't have touched the bottom, it might have been a different story. But that was back in 1992. She was 10 or 12. So somewhere in Japan, there's this woman walking around in her 40s, thanks to me.
Wow, great. That's a great story.
Thanks to me deciding to go to football games in Hawaii and to stay out in the water for just another minute or two.
Well, like I said, I never got inside, but bought a few clocks on the outside at the flea market. Mel?
Yeah, I remember I got a letter from the University of Hawaii my senior year, and I immediately filled it out and said I was interested in going to Hawaii. Now, they didn't have email back then, and they didn't have FedEx, so I don't know if it ever made it back because I never heard back from Hawaii, but I was looking forward to going on that trip. I actually had I actually played in Hawaii twice in 45 days. So we played in the Aloha Bowl my senior year when we should have played Michigan State in the Rose Bowl when that school on the other side of town beat us. And we ended up, as opposed to playing in the Rose Bowl, our consolation prize was playing in the Aloha Bowl. And then I played in the Hula Bowl like 45 days later. So I got to go to Hawaii twice in 45 days and play out there at Aloha Stadium. I love Hawaii, man. I love Waikiki, man. I love it, man. I love the water, man, the weather, the people. I had to see that they're doing this. And I wish they would take the Pro Bowl games back out there. I know the University of Hawaii, I think they have another stadium on campus or something like that they play in, but they plan on having the University of Hawaii play in this stadium, but it's supposed to be a multi-purpose. They're going to have some residential, they're going to have some shopping and some residential things there for the locals there. They really want the locals to be involved. They said they don't want it to be like Waikiki, where Waikiki is more like for the tourists. So I think it'll be great. I think it'd be great if they get some football back there, if they get the Pro Bowl back there. I think they still play the Hula Bowl. I don't know. But, I mean, I think it's great. You know, they are – I mean, look at the number of quarterbacks in particular that are Native Hawaiians. And so, I mean, they produce some football players there on that little island.
Yeah, I heard it's 23,000. I hope they can expand it to 30, 35,000 to accommodate the events that we're talking about. Good to see you, Bo. Steve, glad to see you in the chat room. All right, well –
Wait.
Go ahead, Candy.
So I hadn't spoke about it. So the new stadium will hold 22,500 with the ability to expand if additional funding is secured. The old stadium is going to be demolished July of 2026. The new stadium is scheduled to open March of 2029. The new stadium is designed to host various events, including football, soccer, rugby games, as well as concerts and community events. The project includes development of a 98-acre new Aloha Stadium Entertainment District with commercial, residential, and retail spaces surrounding the stadium. The state of Hawaii is contributing $350 million for construction, while a developer will be responsible for the rest of the project. The state will own the new stadium and the land, while the Aloha Halava district partners will be responsible for its operations and maintenance for 30 years before returning it to the state.
All right, so can they expand that stadium?
They can expand it. That it says if they
you gotta get some money,
funding.
Yeah, but what would be the capacity if they can do it? Do they list it?
They don't. They just said it's the ability to expand if they have.
Good enough. Good enough. All right, let's go ahead and make sure we get some predictions. I got two guys looking to go at each other. I want to make sure we have a chance to do that before time runs out. All right, but first of all, what can everybody be thankful for real quickly before we go into the war that's about to brew for the next 5 or 10 minutes? Quick predictions until the other two combatants go after with the other game. So real quickly, what can you be thankful for, Marvin?
I'm thankful for health. Thank you for health, my family's health, and just thankful for the opportunity to be on this side of the dirt.
Candy?
Thankful for all that Marvin just said. Food, family, friends, football on Thanksgiving, the ability that I have the freedom that I can watch and do what I want to do, my health, and of course you, Scott, my husband.
Thanks, Candy. I'm thankful for you too and the family members I do have left and the family I have on the network and some of the friends. All right, great stuff. Okay, and I'm thankful that Dallas beat the Eagles. I'm sure that Stephen likes that one. Okay, but all right, what about you, Ben? And that's the predictions real quick before we wrap it up.
Oh man, beautiful wife, beautiful children, beautiful family. Just like Marvin said, man, just being on this side of things, driving by graveyards ain't in them, and good health, good people around you, man. Having people around you that you're able to, talk to things through, from now and again, and man, it's just enjoying this side of life. When you talk about being ex players, man, people say, man, would the rest of your life be the best of your life? I can vouch and say yes, most definitely, no doubt.
Tommy?
Thankful for my health, thankful for my wife, thankful for my daughter, who's doing great as a sophomore at Fashion Institute Technology in New York. And if you don't know about that, it's the #1 fashion school in the country. And she's doing great there. Thankful for Magic Johnson for making Michigan State what it is, basketball, and for Tom Izzo for staying there for 31 years. And thankful for Michigan State's new president, Kevin Guskowitz. He's been on the job about a year. Their new athletic director, Jay Batt, because both of them say they want to educate Michigan State and reclaim the history that the school has squandered. No coach anywhere. I quote Barry Switzer saying this in my book, The Right Thing to Do. No coach anywhere did more for college football integration for Duffy Daugherty than Duffy Daugherty at Michigan State. And the school has squandered his legacy. And hopefully that'll be my Thanksgiving prayer that Michigan State will finally get it right.
Mel, and we have predictions on the way next.
Oh man, I'm thankful for my family. Well, first of all, I'm thankful for my health, my family, my two friends, and this shellacking they were going to put on that team, that school from across the city.
All right, well now we got to get to this stuff here. I'm thankful for everybody on the network and the family I have left, and a lot of the friends. So, and the relationships I've built through the years. All right, time to get to the not so nice part of the show. And I know two of them that aren't going to be so nice. So let's try to ease in with the pros first. All right, we're going to start with you, Marvin. Make them quick because we have a war on the way. Okay, and it's not, and I'll guarantee it's not Pearl Harbor. Okay, let's Marvin, real quick. Green Bay against the Lions. Who do you have?
Home or away? I'm sorry, whose home is away?
Well, I mean the Lions are at home.
The Lions are at home.
I would take the Lions in that.
Okay, the Chiefs at the Cowboys.
Chiefs are desperate. They're a wounded animal, and they got a better quarterback, even though Dak is balling. Chiefs.
Okay, and we also have the Bengals at the Ravens.
At the Ravens, Lamar's hungry. They gotta get wins. Desperate, wounded animal. I got the Ravens.
Okay, Ohio State at Michigan.
I'd have to go with Ohio State.
We're going to get to the USC, UCLA after we get done with everybody else because I'm letting them end the show, and they only have 5 minutes to get it out both sides. Candy, you know the game. They'll go again.
I'm going to take the Packers. The Lions on Thanksgiving all time are 37, 45, and 2. So I'm going to go with the Packers. They need it. Of course, I'm going to go with the Chiefs. They like Melvin said, they're desperate. They need to win, and the same with the Ravens. And then I'm going to take, this might not be popular, but I haven't been popular already. So let's go with Ohio State as well.
All right, Ben, you know the games.
I'm gonna go with the Ravens. I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. I'm gonna go with the Lions. And just because I like chaos, I'm gonna go with Michigan.
Oh, I like you. All right, Tommy.
When I was a kid, the Lions always played great on Thanksgiving Day. If they're 37-45 is the record now, I bet they were 20 games above it before the 80s and 90s. So that's surprising. So I'm going to pick the Lions because I think Dan Campbell has brought them back to their own old ways. I like the Chiefs and the Ravens. And Ohio State, without Chip Kelly to screw up the game plan like he did last year, running into the teeth of Michigan's strength, defensive tackles instead of throwing the ball. So without Chip Kelly, Ohio State will beat Michigan, even though it's in Ann Arbor.
Okay, we'll talk more about Chip Kelly. Mel, you know the other 4 games. I'll make my predictions, and then it'll be the Marvin and Mel show for like 3 minutes.
No, I'm gonna Detroit, Dallas, and Baltimore, and
okay.
then I'm gonna take Michigan.
Okay, all right. I'll give you mine. Okay, here's what you have. You have the Lions. I definitely believe will win. Chiefs are going to be an angry team. They're trying to get in the playoffs. I love the Ravens. Lamar Jackson makes a difference over Joe Burrow. And I am going with Michigan over Ohio State. No doubt about that. And I'll tell you what, I'm going with USC to hammer UCLA. All right. I'm getting it all the way. All right, now. All right, hold on.
Don't worry.
All right, now I got that out of the way, so I'm done. So we only have like 3 or 4 minutes, okay? Okay, Marvin, get some real thoughts about USC, UCLA.
Yeah, USC is undefeated at home. At home, I think we're averaging 35+ points a game. Listen, UCLA, these poor people, they average it under 20 points a game. This is a historically bad season for them. Whereas for us, I mean, we're coming off a really a tough loss. We had expectations of playoffs, maybe beyond. That's where our heart was. That's kind of where our program is heading. UCLA right now, I mean, just calling it what it is. They had that big win at Penn State, which now is kind of how big is that? But it's really been a dumpster fire season. They lost their coach. Rumors of the quarterback not wanting to come back and play for the team. They're going up against a juggernaut, compared to what they are. Okay.
Who's a juggernaut?
Compared to what you are, we are a juggernaut without question. If there's only two teams in America, and you say which one's the juggernaut, it would not be UCLA. Listen, Jada Maab is one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. Mekhi Lemon is right now leading for the Blakentnikov. Jacoby Lane is a 2nd-round receiver in the NFL draft. We're playing with our third running back, who I think is on pace for 1,000 yards. The offense, has had moments where it has really been humming, and it is listed as one of the top offenses in the nation. Defensively, we've had some struggles. Teams who can run the ball at an elite level have been able to. UCLA can't do that. There's nothing about their offense that's been elite, just being honest. Okay, that's what it is. I think we may get some guys back on defense. So, listen, Vegas has us at 20.5 points favorites. That's 20.5 favorites. They're usually somewhat right. Listen, UCLA is going to come out hard. They're emotional people. They're going to come out hard and inspired. But the reality is going to set in. It is what it is. We have pride on the line. We're looking for a 10-win season since we didn't make it to the playoffs. Beating UCLA is a part of that. And for a school who, again, is just at a historic low, USC is going to take advantage. And I expect this to get away and to be ugly, to be honest with you.
All right, so I've got USC. We know what his is. All you have to look behind him. Candy, real quick, USC or UCLA?
USC.
Okay, Ben?
Candy.
SC.
Tommy?
I always like UCLA over USC. Sorry, Marvin, but
Wow.
And sorry, Mel. I think USC is going to win.
Okay, Mel, you have about 2.5 minutes to respond. Then we wrap it up and say Happy Thanksgiving. I don't know if that's fair because Marvin got 3 or 4 minutes, but if you guys want to do a show together on this, Marvin and Mel will figure it out. But right now, this is the best we can do. All right, go ahead, Mel. You got
if Saturday was going to be a debate, yeah, SC would win thanks to Marvin. Look, we had the use. I don't know what team is going to show up. I don't even know if the quarterback is going to be out there, but these guys have to have some sense of pride. I think Skipper is going to have these guys ready to play. It doesn't matter what your record is. It wouldn't matter if we didn't win a single game all year long. If we win this game, then the season is a success, regardless of whatever may have happened all other 11 games. If we can win this game, if we can spoil USC season, if we can make USC look bad for spending all this money, bringing in Lincoln Riley from Oklahoma, paying him all this money, buying him a house and all this other kind of stuff. If we could make USC look bad, because last couple of years we've had their number, nothing has really changed. They haven't gotten more physical up front. They cannot run the football. Okay. UCLA, we've run the football a couple different times. You look at Penn State. If we come out there with that same type of energy that we have with Penn State, it could be ugly real quick for those Trojans. And we're going to do it in the Coliseum, and we're looking forward to playing in the Coliseum. And we're gonna go in there. We're gonna get this W, and then we're gonna head back to Westwood.
All right, this will be continued next Tuesday night, unless Marvin and Mel want to mix it up and find another date to make it more. I don't know. That's between these two guys. Meanwhile, with that said, Candy, quick station break. Great participate in the chat room. I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I know we're running out of time. Candy, do your quick station break so everybody else can get their stuff in. And we only have about 2 minutes to wrap this bad boy up. I know we're taking it to the wire. Go on, Candy.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons in the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. Scott wrote it. Go get it. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there's a plethora of great content, so go check that out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to be an advertiser, or if you want to sponsor a show, or if you want to be a guest, or you have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. But most importantly, if you see that red subscribe button, click it, like us, share us, and then turn on your notifications so you're notified every time we go live. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
All right, Marvin will be on the Sports Exchange for the first hour, right, Marvin, from like 9 until 10 o'clock tomorrow night. Hope you enjoy us. Marvin, go ahead and let everybody know how they get a hold of you real quick.
Listen, I'm Marvin on the mic. Those are my handles. You can catch me with the South Florida Tribune Tuesday evenings, typically Wednesday morning and Wednesday evening. More to come on that. You can catch me twice a week on Locked On USC, and that's it.
Great stuff, Ben.
That being true, 8764. I don't know why that's that. I mean, my old account got hacked. I come on this show to get sound bites. The sound bite of the day is Tom saying, "Listen, I'm gonna pick UCLA over SC," and Marvin saying, "Wow, that's gonna get me through the day." Melvin, listen, a show called Melvin and Marv should be on the way. These two gentlemen, y'all deserve each other. I like Melvin said, "Quote: This is debate. It's Marv."
Well, I have a feeling there'll be a show called Mouth and Marvin at the mic, right? I think we're planning to do something like that. That's in the works. All right, Tommy, real quickly, let everybody know how to get a hold of you, then Mel, and we'll wrap it up.
My website, TomShanahan.report. My Twitter handle, Shanny4055.
Great stuff, Tommy. I always love having you on, Mel. Take us home.
Yeah, you can find me on all the social media at Mel Farr Jr. Then you can follow what we have going on for the youth here in Georgia and also in Detroit at melfarsuperstarfoundation.org.
Beautiful. All right, everybody. We're going to see you next Tuesday night. Same show, Inside the Pigskin. We appreciate everybody for joining us. Chat room was fantastic tonight. Everybody on the crew was fantastic, from Ben to Marvin to Candy to Mel to Tommy and myself. I want to thank everybody for joining us on this edition of Inside the Pigskin. See you next Tuesday. In the meantime, happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and we will see you next time. God bless everybody. Enjoy the football, the family, and the food, and the lasting memory. There you go. Love it. God bless everybody.
Go Pack, go.
Go Lions. See you next Tuesday.
Mercy.
I know.
Bye.